Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Mr. Roy, and this is the New Legacy Academy channel. As we always do, we'll beam intellectual light into societal issues so that we can begin to prefer real practical solutions to them. Today is another day to talk about the issue between the Falanas and VDM. All right. I'm sure it's going to be an exciting time once again, and I really hope that this video will go far enough to be able to solve these issues, because I think it is really not an issue that they should be fighting about. Before we go into it, remember to like, to share, and to subscribe to this channel. We certainly will do or go far with your support. Okay, first of all, let me build context to this issue. Our society today is ravaged with so many wickedness, because that's the way I see it. The leadership failure, the leadership absence in Nigeria today can be related, can be expressed as sheer wickedness and evil. And it's expressed in so many ways. So you see leaders, the best they think they can do is to construct roads, get a lot of kickbacks, invite TV stations, pay them a lot of monies that would have, built more classrooms, and they expect that the people should clap for them. I call that the absenteeism of leadership, the total lack of it. You understand? Because if you look at it, sometimes or most of the time, it does not impact on real indication or indicators of growth. How does it affect the health of the people, the education of the people? Those things. Roads may not really make direct impact, while other societies that want to develop are focusing on outcomes, real outcomes. We are here fooling around by just constructing road and wasting more money to invite TV stations to cover it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So this lack of leadership is expressed in several ways. You see leaders talk about girl children and they express sadness with their mouth, and on their way home they see these girl children on the street begging, and the next meal that they will eat, the cost of that meal will probably send more than 10 of those girl children to school, from primary to secondary school. Do you understand? So we are living in a time, in a society where leadership is totally absent. It seems that our leaders don't even understand their role, not to talk of even carrying it out. So that is my context. So the monster, the evil of leadership that we're fighting against in this country, the people that are good, that have good intentions, should strive to be able to work together. All right. So that is the context to this issue. Now, our problems are unique. One thing our lack of growth has done to our society is that we've not been able to, embellish our culture. We've not been able to appreciate, because we're not embellishing this culture, we're not adding light to it. We don't really appreciate our culture, and our culture is our way of life. From our culture is where we're going to get our unique solutions to our problems. From our way of life lies our problems. And it's that culture that we're supposed to derive solutions to these problems. But because we're not adding value to the culture, we are not embellishing it, we're not making it attractive, our children are not even interested in cultural things. For instance, do you know that an average child watches the TV, and what they see is European culture, the Western culture? They are watching the cartoon, the Spider-Man. Our culture is not Spider-Man and Superman. So like that, they are indoctrinated somehow into the Western culture, and they leave our culture. So you give a young child a black doll and a white doll, she goes for the white doll. Do you understand? So we have not really, build our culture to realize that our problems are unique. And sometimes, based on the unique problems we face, we may not find the solution in the books that the Western societies have written. We have unique problems and homegrown problems that require homegrown, solutions. So, and one of the solutions, homegrown solutions that I see is the discovery of VDM and even the Falanas. So we live in a dark society, and the light people, the people that represent light, are very few. And it will be sad if they are the ones fighting themselves. The darkness have found a perfect way of uniting. Our enemies are united. And the least we can do as light, as people that represent light, is to be united as well. And that is how I see the issue of the Falanos and the VDM. These are two, you know, people. The Falanos certainly cannot be compared to VDM, if you ask me, because they've been there for such a long time. If you know anything about SAN Falana, he has done so much. While other SANs are waiting for elections, after elections they go to court and make so much money. Femi Falana is always there at the forefront, fighting for the poor, fighting for people who cannot afford justice, speaking for them for years, over years and over years. For so many years he has been doing it. And sometimes I actually feel that we do not appreciate these people enough. For God's sake, these people have wives, they have children, they face the heat. All these things that they do against to fight government is not easy. All these things they say against the government fights them back, and they feel it. You understand? And yet they keep going, and yet they keep going. So I believe as a society, we don't appreciate these people enough. But it's an opportunity to let you know, Mr. SAN Falan or Uncle Falan, or since everybody is referring to you as uncle now, that we appreciate what you do. Those things that you do that we do not see, when the heat comes, you don't talk about it, we appreciate it. All right, so you've done so much for the society, and you are the few lights that we can be proud of. Now, VDM is a recent phenomenon that cannot be underrated. I was listening to Falz on a podcast. Falz is someone we respect to remember the answers. These are things that we don't do, we cannot do. We remember our wives, our children, and we say, I beg, I cannot go ahead. But there are people who are putting their lives and livelihood on the line. I was listening to AY the other day, and he said because he supported a candidate, his house was burnt. These are the kind of hits these people feel, and yet they still keep pushing. You can say Femi Falana is quite old, but the son is also doing the same. So these are people that should be appreciated, and this video is also one to appreciate the uncommon courage that these people are displaying. But what I want to establish is that the Falanos and VDM, they are on the same side. They are on the same side, and they should not be coming against each other. Because if we begin to fight ourselves as people that represent light, and you guys are few, how many are you? You can almost count. I mean, at the top of my head, I cannot remember more than 10. And if I cannot remember more than 10 activists that are, in the forefront, I can remember so many thousands of people that represent darkness. So we cannot afford to be fighting ourselves. And this is how I see the thing. This is just how I see the case. The Falanos deserve their respect. And make no mistake, VDM deserves his respect because he's doing so much in a space where people just do behave anyhow. And it's also costing him a lot. I mean, recently he had to run away from his house, but yet he's still going forward. So that is established. Now, another point to make is that because of the level of darkness in Nigeria, I call it darkness, is beyond bad leadership. Because of the level of darkness and evil in places of leadership in Nigeria, there is a level of grace. There's a level of grace you need to have to be able to fight these people. Madness, I mean. There's a level of madness you need to be able to display. We all know that Femi Falana in his early days supported or defended Fela Anikulapo Kuti during his days. For you to stand for that kind of idea, I mean, you must carry some level of grace. What they will say, grace. That level of confidence, courage that is supernatural. So for you to stand against this kind of evil in our society, you need to have that level of grace. And sometimes, after you exhaust 97% in fighting leadership, sometimes 3% is left to be able to dish around. My point is this: we must be able to give ourselves, even amongst the people of light, we must be able to give ourselves some space to grace. If not, we will tear ourselves apart, and the monster and the darkness that we hope to fight are always united. You see them, they will annoy themselves today, they will cause themselves tomorrow. But the day after tomorrow, once their interests align, the interest of siphoning the fund that is meant for everybody, they come together. United will stand, divided will fall. So, as the people that represent light, we must be willing to give space to grace. After all, there is a level of grace that we need to be able to fight this darkness. You understand? So, that being said, my advice is this: I'll put it in such a way that what VDM should have done and what VDM shouldn't have done. And we must also give space for growth. I'm sure Femi Falana today is revered. We all respect him. People that pay attention all respect him and will continue to do that. But I'm sure if he traces his steps back to his young days, he will realize that once or twice he made some mistakes. You know, in the space of light, we must not expect perfection, because if we do, we will always be divided. That's the point I'm trying to make. So if Uncle Femi Falana traces his steps backwards 20, 20, 30 years back, he will notice that he must have made some errors here and there. Please, let's give VDM that space too. That's the point I'm trying to make. Let's give space for growth as well. He's just starting out. He will make his mistakes and he will learn from it. We cannot just throw him away because he has just made one mistake. Who is doing what he's doing? The good that is dishing out to the society is way, 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 way more than the little mistake that he has made. Bottom line, we are fighting for the same thing. The Falanas and VDM, they are fighting for the same thing. I listened to Falz in that same podcast. He didn't seem to know a lot about VDM. Falz, please, just Google, try and do your research on him. You will see that he has done so much. He has also done so much. So, back to the solution. What do I think VDM shouldn't have done? VDM shouldn't have put in the windows, because everybody in this world knew that he erred, he made a mistake in that video. Everybody knows that. Now, he shouldn't have done that. My advice to him: I would love a situation where, you are a Benin boy, right? A Benin guy. A lot of respect from. I respect you so much, right? Imagine you just getting a drink, as a cultural person that you are. Just surprise Uncle Falana. Go to his house, go to his office, and just tell him you're sorry. And this whole thing goes away. And another thing that will also lead to, the forces of darkness will understand that the forces of good are beginning to understand how they should be united. Because right now they are probably laughing at us. They are laughing. Even the few that are supposed to be fighting us, they cannot even agree and be united in one thing. So, and I think, Uncle Falana is way older, so it's something you can even do, even if he's the one that is wrong. Do you understand? And like that, we form a formidable force to be able to fight the chains of evil. So that is what I would advise and hope that VDM eventually does. But even if he does not do that, my advice to the Falana: let's see the light that VDM is bringing to the society. And let's please overlook his mistake. If anyone says he did not err in that video, that person just feels that you should allow him some space. I have not heard anybody that said that, oh, they don't think that VDM erred in that video. But what they just feel is, Uncle Falana, VDM is behind you. you're like the leader of this struggle. You're supposed to overlook what he has done. And that's my advice. Even though he does not hit to the advice I've just given him today, please let's just overlook it. I listened to that podcast that Falz did. It's really hurting. I know the name is at stake and everything, but what VDM is dishing out, the light is bringing to the society, is so much that we should please give him space for growth. And that's my take on this issue. I hope this video goes far enough to be able to make the impact I hope it makes. Have a wonderful day and be the best you can.